So Formula E has a problem. I think it's forgotten its roots. Let me explain. So as we all know, Formula E was the brainchild of former FIA president Jean Todt, wanting to make Mario Kart a real-world sport. Much like the Nintendo game, bringing racing into urban city environments was a pivotal part of the series. Bringing racing to a much wider audience, but also making use of existing transportation, infrastructure and power supplies that can be found in large urban environments, ensuring that the sport remains as green as humanly possible. Now, unlike Formula 1, who, let's be honest, needed to build an entire complex to house all the equipment that they needed for one race weekend in Las Vegas, whereas Formula E can have its paddock installed very quickly via pop-up tents, and it can really find itself into small places in urban environments, something other motorsports simply can't do. However, this year we've seen the cancellation of the FE circuit in India, along with the non-renewal of obviously Rome and South Africa. This has meant that Formula E has had to use more traditional race circuits. Now, this moves away from the original concept of Formula E and the whole premise of racing around city centres. And let's be honest, it's not due to poor attendance. Look at the races that we've seen over the years, we've always had maximum sellout capacities. The reason for this happening is simple. As mayors change and city planning and policies change, building circuits, closing roads and diverting traffic, along with building grandstands, becomes more complex, and it starts to lose interest, especially in this current economic climate. Imagine if you've got people balloting for certain changes in their city, and ultimately if they say we're going to rip that up because a racing circuit's going to be coming through, they might not be too happy. Let's be honest, the street circuits do create a real problem in terms of consistency, as the fluid nature of politics and economic climates means that no guarantee of any future races can truly be made. If you take Monaco as an example, the only reason this is continually on both the F1 and the FE calendar is simply as it's a municipality and it has historic status, meaning it's got strong backing from the owners and it's also got backing from the people that watch it. Unlike the Indian government, who simply can't afford to find sponsors or afford to run a race itself. It's a real shame, as I actually really quite liked that circuit last year. So because of this, traditional race circuits are becoming more and more an attractive prospect, as they are private companies that already have sponsorship deals in place, so they can simply charge for a race weekend. This means you get the stability and you get multi-year contracts being a common sight across a variety of sports. But now we find Formula E in a difficult position. It is having to use these circuits to fill gaps in its calendar. Now, this moves Formula E away from its traditional inception idea, which Jean Todt had, in bringing the public to be able to see it in places that you would never normally see race cars. So by Formula E moving towards these more traditional race circuits, yes, it brings it in parallel with other race series, but that was never the point of Formula E to begin with. It was meant to be the outlier. It was supposed to be something different. It was supposed to bring people something they hadn't seen before. It's possible when the Gen 4 car specs fully come out that we'll see whether or not Formula E is intending to move its focus more towards these fast traditional circuits, and perhaps maybe a little bit less regard on the former street racing that we've known to come and love with Formula E. And I hope that's not the case, because I really enjoy seeing these cars race around city centres, seeing these cars race in areas that, to be honest, you could never put another traditional motorsport, as for environmental reasons or just practicality reasons. However, I think the problem is, if you look at the calendar this year, we're starting to get to a level of disparity between both street circuits and traditional circuits. And I really would just like to see a couple of traditional circuits in there and keep the street racing going. Hopefully it doesn't change too much, and this is just a minor blip in the calendar, and we just happen to have lost a couple of circuits this year, and hopefully some different ones will come online next year. I don't know, only time will tell, but from my point of view, I really want to see street racing a pivotal part of Formula E, keeping in line with the true DNA of where this sport began.